developed a land acknowledgement statement at the IdeaLab and Library, which we presented to the town of Innisfil a couple of weeks ago in a council meeting, and they have adopted the land acknowledgement statement for the town of Innisfil as well. So I'd like to give you some background as to how we came to this point, and then afterwards we're going to play a YouTube video for you. Okay, I'd like to update you on a critical step the Library Board has undertaken to recognise the First Peoples on whose traditional territories we live, work and play. The recent revelation of missing children and unmarked graves has brought a tragic history to our collective doors, and the Board recognises that the Library plays a key role in education and public discourse. This information is particularly timely, as Canada did, for the first time, recognise the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th in order to honour the survivors of residential schools. As part of the Library's support of the diversity and inclusion work undertaken by the town of Innisfil, the Board struck a committee in January 2021 with the goal to develop a Library land acknowledgement statement. As part of this process, the committee engaged in considerable education through self-directed readings, research, and participated in numerous cultural competency workshops. The Library's Land Acknowledgement Committee also consulted with Jeff Meneg, a former chief of the Beausoleil First Nation. He is currently the co-manager at Springwater Provincial Park and is an elder and knowledge keeper for the Indigenous community. His assistance was critical to ensure the accuracy of the statement and that the appropriate respect and honour is afforded to Indigenous peoples throughout the acknowledgement. Land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognises the First Nations on whose traditional territories we work and live. It also demonstrates respect for Indigenous peoples, both in the past and the present, and the contributions they have made to our communities and nation. They also mark a small, important step in the process of reconciliation and help build a positive relationship with Indigenous peoples. Using and participating in a land acknowledgement offers recognition of the presence and resilience of Indigenous peoples. It is a reminder that we are accountable to these relationships. Through the use of a land acknowledgement statement, Library staff, board members and partners will reflect on their relationship to the land on which we work and acknowledge our presence on the land as visitors and as a part of colonial history. Raise awareness of Indigenous presence and land rights in everyday life for ourselves and meeting participants. Recognise the history of colonialism and the resulting negative effect on Indigenous communities. Gain a better understanding of the treaty relationship. Understand the importance of honouring and giving respect to First Peoples. Create better relationships and connections with various Indigenous communities. Support the actions of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. After several months of research and professional development, including consultation with members of the Indigenous community, the following statement was adopted at the Library Board's June 21st, 2021 meeting. Innisfil IdeaLab and Library acknowledges that the town of Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. We also acknowledge that this land is the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Brahma First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for their generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The Library acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honouring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis and Inuit peoples. The land acknowledgement will take place at the commencement of significant meetings, public events, presentations and other gatherings, whether in person or in virtual meetings. Library staff will develop procedures for land acknowledgement delivery in a variety of formats and circumstances. Staff will also create opportunities to further highlight the history of Indigenous peoples. An example over here, as you come into the library, with various books that are available that I encourage everybody to borrow. For example, this year on September 29th, the library hosted a guest speaker, Dr. Cynthia Wesley Esquimalt. Cynthia spoke to the differences between decolonizing and indigenizing and why indigenizing has become her main approach to reconciliation in Canada. On September 30th, the library brought an outdoor intergenerational traditional story time to Innisfil Beach Park. Indigenous elders and community facilitator Chris Merkel shared traditional stories and sang songs as part of a meaningful conversation towards truth and reconciliation. I was at the park that night. It was very well attended. It was a really interesting evening. The Library Board Committee recognises that adoption of a land acknowledgement statement is merely one of many steps forward towards reconciliation and relationship building. It will evolve as we learn and grow in our understanding of history and current events. Adoption of a land acknowledgement allows us the opportunity to appreciate the unique role and relationship that each of us has with the land, and provides a gentle reminder of the broader perspectives that expand our understanding of the long-standing, rich history of the land and our privileged role in residing here. To recognise the land as an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory on which we all reside, a way of honouring the Indigenous peoples who have existed on the land from time immemorial, and it is a way to understand our place within that history. We recognise that colonialism is a current ongoing process, and we need to be mindful of our present participation. As part of the board's commitment to reconciliation, the Library Board and staff will continue to learn about the history of Indigenous peoples, develop a stronger relationship with First Nations partners, and is fully committed to this work. Library staff will collaborate with the town's diversity and inclusion team to share this work with our One Town, One Team partners. As a first step in this commitment, Indigenous cultural awareness will be incorporated into onboarding and regular professional development for board and library staff. This step supports the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action number 57, Professional Development and Training for Public Servants, which states, we call upon federal, provincial, territorial and municipal governments to provide education to public servants on the history of Aboriginal peoples, including the history and legacy of residential schools, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, treaties and Aboriginal rights. This will require skill-based training in intercultural competency, conflict resolution, human rights, and anti-racism. I would like to acknowledge that those attending this meeting are not responsible for the difficult history of Indigenous peoples. However, we are responsible for doing better moving forward. Innisfil IdeaLab and Library is committed to this work, and our adoption of a land acknowledgement statement is the first step in this journey. I just want to let you know that for those of you who don't know, we are situated on land discovered by Treaty number 18, which was signed on October 17th, 1818, by representatives of the Crown and certain Anishinaabe people. It is also known as the Lake Simcoe Nottawasaga Treaty. And under the terms of the treaty, we agreed to pay £1,200 yearly and forevermore to the peoples of this land. And as you know, that is all part of the issue now. The treaties have not been honoured. I would like, Jen, if you could just play a short YouTube video that the library put together about this as well, I would appreciate that.
The Innisfil IdeaLab and Library acknowledges that the town of Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. We also acknowledge that this land is the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The library acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples.
The words you just heard represent the library's land acknowledgement statement, which has been in development over the past year. As your library board, we are proudly here to share the significance of this statement, why it was developed, how it was developed, and how we will be using it as an organization moving forward. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes the Indigenous peoples on whose traditional territories we work and live, and the relationships that we share with the land and the people around us. It marks the beginning of a gathering or event where organizers take a respectful pause to reflect on the continuous occupation of Indigenous land, the colonial history that we all share, and how we are going to move forward together. Land acknowledgements also mark a small but important step in the process of reconciliation, and they help build a positive relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. Using and participating in a land acknowledgement offers recognition of the presence and resilience of Indigenous peoples, as well as their ongoing contributions. It is a reminder that everyone is accountable to these relationships.
So how was it developed? In January 2021, the board struck a committee with the goal to develop a library land acknowledgement statement. As part of this process, the committee undertook considerable education through self-directed readings, research, and participated in numerous cultural competency workshops. The library's Land Acknowledgement Committee also consulted with Jeff Moneg, a former chief of the Beausoleil First Nation. He is currently the co-manager at Springwater Provincial Park and is an elder and knowledge keeper for the Indigenous community. His assistance was critical to ensure the accuracy of the statement and that the appropriate respect and honour is afforded to Indigenous peoples through the acknowledgement. What is extremely important to note is that this statement will evolve as we learn and grow in our understanding of history and current events, and will take place at the commencement of significant meetings, public events, presentations, and other gatherings, whether in person or in virtual settings. We are not here to check off a box, but to make a real commitment to truth and reconciliation by encouraging consistent self-reflection and conversation across the organisation about colonialism, our shared history, our relationship with this land, and the ongoing presence of a community that has continued to thrive despite being displaced and erased from most of history. As part of the board's commitment to reconciliation, the library board and staff will continue to learn about the history of Indigenous peoples, develop a stronger relationship with First Nations partners, and is fully committed to this work. As I mentioned, during the course of developing this acknowledgement statement, we attended many sessions, and Barb and I both attest to having many sleepless nights due to some of the healing circles that we did attend. The discovery of the, the uncovering of the Indigenous graves has really opened a wound for a lot of the older Indigenous people who were residents at the residential school. They've spent a lifetime trying to forget the horrors that many of them encountered in the Indigenous schools, and this has opened up all those old wounds for them, and there's a lot of healing has to take place right now. They talk about intergenerational trauma, and they reckon it will take 7 generations for the Indigenous people to move beyond this, because children were taken away from their families at a very young age. They were forced to give up their language, their culture, and their beliefs. And then when they were released from the residential homes at around the age of 16, they had no connection to their own families because they could no longer speak the languages. They went on to have children. They never learned how to be parents. And so the intergenerational pain and suffering continued and continues to this day. So I just wonder if anybody has any questions. I'm sorry, I have my back to some people. I just want us all to reflect on it. And as I say, the library has a really good supply of different books if people want to learn more about this. Anybody? It's a hard subject. It's an uncomfortable subject to talk about, but you know, it is what it is, and we have to face up to the consequences of past actions. So thank you, everybody, for listening to that.
Did anyone online have any questions for Ann at all? No. Yeah, following the Indigenous thing, a lot of people, I don't know, my father is full-blooded Cherokee Indian. So growing up, I know there's less than 4% of the Native population that still speaks a Native language in all schools in Canada. They teach every language in schools, but they don't teach Indigenous languages in any form of school in Canada any longer. But every other language is spoken. So it's a tough thing. But if anyone has any questions, I think we have good news to move on to. Monica, would you like to start the induction?
You're gonna go off the speakerphone. Just go right off that.
Yeah, just do this.
No. Oh, okay.
Can our people on Zoom hear us okay? Okay, good.
Yeah, they hear you. They're hearing you off of here, I think.
I got the little mic.
All right, so things have, Monica, where will we do this? We have to, Ann, would you please come up? Monica, come up. And who else do we need out there?
Katie.
Katie, come on out. Sorry about our backs, everyone. This is going to be wonderful when this is all over and we can get back to normal. So, to our members here today and our members on Zoom, once again, I really believe this is one of the high points of the Rotary, the induction of a new member. So without further ado, let's get right into it here. Fellow Rotarians, it is my privilege and pleasure today to welcome into the membership of our club, Katie Mueller, whose name was proposed by Ann Kell. The proposal has been reviewed in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of the club. I now ask Ann, our sponsor, to be here, and Katie, our chair of membership, Monica, and our president, Pete. A wonderful, wonderful morning. Terrific. I'm also enthused about the induction. Katie, we now proceed to admit you into the membership of the Rotary Club of Innisfil and so to the Fellowship of Rotary throughout the world. It has already been explained to you that the ideal of Rotary is service. Our principal motto is service above self, and the object of the club and all Rotary clubs is to encourage and foster this ideal as a basis of worthy enterprise. You are to share in this effort. You have been approved for membership in this club because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your vocation, interested in the ideals of Rotary, are willing to do your share in translating these ideals into tangible reality. You have agreed to accept the obligations attached to your membership in this club and to obey this club's constitution and bylaws. Now I have the pleasure of asking your proposer and our chair of membership to present you with the Rotary emblem, which we expect you to wear with pride. We'll do that now. And if you'd like to.
Try to project some things towards the camera as well, so people online can see you.
Katie, a very, very warm welcome to the Rotary Club of Innisfil. Fellow Rotarians, I'm happy to present to you Rotarian Katie, our newest member. And
Thank you so much.
Katie, a couple of words.
Thank you. I'm thrilled. From day one, I was excited and wanted this to become a thing and be a member. You guys have been so welcoming and so down to earth and encouraging, so I appreciate it. And I'm excited to do some things in the community and make some changes. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. And a special thank you to Anne for inviting Katie to the club. And that's how you do it, folks. Invite somebody.
Oh my gosh. Hello, sure. Membership packet. So it's lots of goodies in here. And thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna wear this with pride.
Thank you so much, President Dean.
Thank you, Al. So we'll move on to old business. Jeff isn't here, but Tim, did you have anything for Beer for Year?
At this point, no serious updates on ticket sales. However, we just want to please, we're down to the wire. We're down to less than 2 months. Really, we need to have everything done so we have time to get ourselves ready to do the draws. Please, if you don't have tickets, please let Jeff know or myself. We'll make sure we get tickets in your hands. I think there's, according to Jeff, I think there's only like a couple hundred left to go. Shouldn't take us long to sell those. Al, you've done amazing, all the connections you made, but I'm sure others of us can do at least, even if you did a fraction of what Al was able to manage to do, we'd have this thing sold out in no time at all. So please.
Thank you, Tim. It had nothing else under old business, unless anyone else had anything to bring up.
Can I just mention, President Dean, for those of you who recall Troy Scott, there was a golf course, or a golf tournament in his memory by his buddies. Rather than a celebration of life, they had a golf game because that's what he did. He played golf with these guys over at Innisbrook all the time. So we were supposed to have a check presentation tomorrow for a fundraiser they did. That's been postponed till next week. There's just trying to coordinate it with the rules of COVID and everything. But we're certainly going to have a check coming, and my understanding is it's going to be for $6,500. This is going to be sometime next week, and I'll keep you informed. And one of the things that the family and his buddies not stipulated, they asked. They asked if we could spend the money in Innisfil, and I'm sure we can do that. So that's it's great news. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Al. On to new business. I have the pumpkin carving contest at the farmer's market on here. And did you know about that? I forgot my form at home about it.
Yeah, even, I know the library is going to put in some pumpkins, so we're asking for all the community groups if they'd like to enter a pumpkin for the for some competition that's at the farmers market tomorrow afternoon. So if we have anybody here who's great at carving pumpkins, take it on up to the market tomorrow afternoon.
Are they to be carved there or ahead of time?
No, I believe it's ahead of time.
Yeah, from what I remember reading, it's ahead of time and they just judge them there.
Oh, no, okay. So who are the artists in our club who could do that?
Tim.
Yeah. Comes at a time for me.
Make the kids do it.
Yeah.
And Barb, you had an announcement to make.
I actually had two. There's a talk show tonight from the district. If you haven't seen one before, it's a good chance to see. Tim is actually on the panel. It's 6 till 7. I looked at my emails this morning and I don't have the link yet, but I've asked the district governor to send it to me. So I'll send you an email as soon as he sends it to me, so you can go on the Zoom link to see it. Tim may even already have the link, I'm not sure, but we'll get it out to everybody. And I think that it's really nice to have our own representative on the district talk show panel. That
Came out early this morning, Barb.
Oh, did it? Good. Thank you. Get up earlier than I do. And also the leadership training is starting again. I think it's a three weekend Saturday 9 to 11. It also came out this morning.
And probably will be able to because the library doing the gingerbread.
We're still waiting to find out what the rules are going to be around the Christmas period as to whatever the library ends up doing. Their Christmas activities, we will piggyback on for the gingerbread competition, but they haven't yet finalized what the rules are around Christmas celebrations yet.
Okay, thank you, Ann. That's all I had for new business today. We can start with the round of good news. Tim, who do we have online? Start with Jen.
I really want to thank Anne for her presentation today. I think it's just really important to share this information. I would say about 3 or 4 years ago, I was in BC for a conference, and it was the first time I'd ever heard land acknowledgement statement, and I felt very shocked by it. I wasn't familiar with it, but the more that you learn about what has happened and the more that you become familiarized with it, I just find that it's just an important conversation to have. And I just want to thank Anne very much for all the work that she's done on this.
Thank you, Jen. Chief Fletcher.
Nothing for good news this morning, Dean. Just happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. Dwayne.
Hey, President Dean. Nothing too much that's going. I'm just happy I'm here and happy we're seeing another day. So I hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you, Dwayne. Chris Beggs.
Good morning. I guess my really big thing is that my granddaughter, who had to start on a series of rabies vaccinations, the pathology from the horse has come back and it wasn't rabies, so she can stop getting all those injections, which is really nice. And I guess the really good thing for her out of it is she finally got over her fear of injections, because the first lot were 3, 1 arm, 1 leg, and 2 legs, sorry, 1 arm, 2 legs. So that's a positive for her. She won't be a quivering mass whenever she has to get an injection from now on. And I really appreciated Anne's speech today. When I was teaching grade 1, a sort of minuscule component is where do you come from? And in that there was mention of Native peoples. And I tried to find out amplifying information, and nobody had anything even to tell which tribes had been living in our area for me to broaden the kids' understanding. So it's really nice to see this push that we have now. And I guess, sorry, one more thing. I have swamp milkweed seed. If anybody wants some, it'll do well by a pond or the damper area of your property with some sun, and it's not as large as the other milkweed. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Susie.
Good morning, everybody. I had a great opportunity to go visit family up in Huntsville last weekend, even though the weather was pouring rain most of the day. The leaves and the foliage were just absolutely gorgeous. So if you have a chance to go up there, it's a great time of year to go visit and see all the beautiful colors. So we had a great weekend. Thanks.
Thank you, Susie. Eleanor.
Good morning. Happy to be here. No good news except the sun is shining and I see blue sky, so I'm quite happy. Thank you.
Blue skies is always a good day. Brandy.
No big news. All is settled over here, and I think the kids are now used to their school routine. They're about to go catch that magic school bus shortly. So that's my good news of today.
Thank you, Brandy. Paul.
Yeah, I'll leave it mostly to Debbie, but our trusses came yesterday, so that's the good news.
I don't know if you heard her hooting in the back there, Paul. Doug, I saved you for last because you're the furthest away.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So yeah, I'm in Egypt, traveled over yesterday and the day before. It was quite uneventful. Getting to the airport was much easier than I expected. The COVID-19 restrictions and protocols were very, very simple, not a big deal. So I'm in the northern part of Egypt on the coast of the Mediterranean in a little city called Alexandria, not too far from the Suez Canal. Absolutely wonderful here. A nice balmy high of 27, 28 degrees every day. Low of about 21 degrees, and I think they're calling for rain, I think sometime in March. So we're good for the next several months. It is absolutely gorgeous here. We're having an international Rotary meeting tomorrow with, I think, 16 different other countries, as well as the local Egyptians hosting us. And then we roll out on motorcycles for a 10-day adventure across the desert, seeing camels, pyramids, and other such things. And I'll post a few pictures as I go along. So yeah, great day.
Thank you very much, Doug. I look forward to seeing those pictures and sending you jealous comments. Tim.
Good morning, everyone. Good week. Not having to be as hectic with the work as I was the last couple of weeks, which is nice. It's able to just go to work and not have to be in a panic rush. It's just be able to fit into my role. Nice. Great to be here. And in connection to the Truth and Reconciliation, I was talking to Nevaeh, my adopted daughter, that her English class is actually pushing an Aboriginal mandate, which I found very, very interesting, to have an English teacher teaching about Aboriginal affairs. So I was curious to see how they were teaching it, where were they teaching it, what textbook were they working from, what slant is in there, and are they following? So I was making sure that as she was explaining it to me, that it was actually, it made sense, because sometimes they'll say, yeah, the English did all this nice stuff. It's like, hold on. So it's making sure that it's fairly taught. And I loved how you commented, Past President Ann, that nobody in this room is at fault for what happened, but it is up to us to be the ones, the catalysts to change. So I love that aspect of it. So otherwise, great day. Thank you all.
Mr. Al.
And thank you so much. Going forward, I just hope that the government and the people who should be doing the right thing do the right thing. And we can only hope. And Rob, I visited and welcome for it, but Rob, you've been here a few times now, Rob is Ann's neighbor. And you guys are doing something right. So we coming back. Thank you. I'm scared away.
Barry, it's kind of good news in a way it's kind of sad. Lynn and I attended the reconciliation ceremony in Marion, the Spirit Catch. And there was one lady who had gone through the residential school system. So sad to hear her story. She just totally ruined her life. Very emotional. There was a standing crowd there that I really expected. And they had the drum ceremonies and then they marched down the part of Dunlop Street. I think there's a couple hundred people in that march. So very, very impressive. I think it's one step forward, baby step.
Thank you, Barry.
Rob. I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is my daughter's coming out from university for a week. This weekend, so it's good to say that. We can go over the last 30 dinner that she's demanding. Bad news is I know you're looking for people who can carve pumpkins. Unfortunately, I come from a country where we eat them. We don't.
Chris.
Morning, everyone. Last week I was supposed to get my hair cut. It didn't happen. The day of my appointment, I got a text from my barber telling me he just found out he had COVID. So I was kind of glad that he told me before, and I didn't find out the day after.
I guess we're with Debbie.
Morning, everybody. So I had the opportunity to meet a huge group of Rotarians because I completed my leadership part 1, and I've already signed up for leadership part 2. I want to give a big thank you to all of the Innisfil individuals who were online. I think we kind of ruled. There's like 7 or 8 online. Really good. So I'm excited, and I met so many people that have a lot of ideas to share for membership and everything. So it was great.
Thank you, Barb.
My good news is that everybody's going to the Leadership Academy and stuff like that. I think it's really good that our club always actively participates in those opportunities, and it's become easier within our Zoom because we used to have to travel to North Bay to do it. So it's really so much easier and to take advantage while we're still using Zoom. Although I think that it may become the way it's done because it gets more people able to go. I will tell you one thing, when Anne was doing her presentation this morning, it reminded me, and if my dad was alive, he'd be 110. So as he was retiring, as he was slowing down, and he was in his early, I would say mid to late 80s, we went to a tree farm that he owned. It was a 30-acre piece of property out towards Shelburne, and he planted little tiny baby trees. And we were there not so long ago, and my husband, who's 6 feet tall, put his arm on him, and the trees were way higher than he was. But when I was there and I was planting trees, and if you planted trees, it's a bend over job, and you're putting seedlings in the ground. I asked him, why were we doing this? As an adult, I said, why are we doing this? And he said, maybe if we make enough forests, the birds, the animals, and the Indians will come back. So that comes to me from, or me, a memory that made me understand.
Thank you, Barb. Monica.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Happy to induct a new member. Yeah, that's it. And I'm hoping we're going to get a good job. Okay. Me. Okay. You and I.
John.
Everybody.
Morning, everyone. President Dean, welcome. And thanks, Anne, for that nice introduction to the area. I've never heard a whole lot, but they have been as many of the others have said, you're getting to hear those things all the time. Could be special as it continues to grow. Good news, and with other people in the Innisfil Club, I was at leadership in my first section. Looking forward to the second.
Yeah, no, I'd like to brag a little bit. The last time they did it with Tim and I and Brandy, Innisfil ruled it then too.
Well, this is a good news story, but I was excited at the beginning. A while back, I ordered a rattan chair, those hanging ones, and the price was $253, but I figured I only have over $65 to lose. And it looked like it was coming from Mayfair. So I ordered it. I got a confirmation about a month ago saying that it's on its way. And then when I went to track it, it was all in Chinese. So yesterday I got a call, and I usually don't answer it if I don't recognize the number, but this was a 416 number, and it was border security. I'm thinking, oh, my kid just come in. And they said, we have a package here for you, and it's nice. There's a warrant out for your house. And they said, press 1 to speak to a board of security. And I just pressed 1 and it went dead. So I don't know if I have a warrant for my resident.
We go get her out.
Just don't give your credit card number to anything.
I know, it's my first time ever doing something like that. And I figure I have nothing to lose. I get emails if my credit card has been used and it hasn't been used. So who knows if I'm going to get this back in time. Or I'm going to get arrested.
So if you're not here next week, we know you're in the caboose.
So the CRA scam has really picked up.
Oh man, yeah, I've gotten that call too. I laugh every time. I want a human. I actually want somebody to be on the phone with. I don't want the recording. I want to be somebody to actually talk to.
And Kelly.
Thanks, President. Good morning, everyone. Everything's good. I just want to say congratulations and welcome to Katie. It's great that you joined the group today. And I want to say thank you very much for the presentation.
I have lots of good news in the sense that thank you for inviting me today. I'll also share another piece of good news. My daughter was up all night, and why it's important this morning was short, so I was happy about that. And also to your presentation, and I had an opportunity to work at camp. It was the Ted Nolan Leadership Camp for Indigenous youth. And that, oh my goodness, the intergenerational trauma that Anne was speaking about is very much a thing. And these youth, as much as they maybe didn't know much of their history or are living in current situations that aren't ideal, it is very much stemmed from that intergenerational trauma that their families and their people experience. So I very much appreciate the work that you're doing for the library. I've also read quite a few pieces of literature on Indigenous culture, fiction, nonfiction, and I suggest, especially if you're a fiction lover, to read some of that literature, because it really does give a different perspective on what Indigenous peoples do go through. So I would definitely recommend checking out the section that Anne shared this year and using to understand some of those experiences. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And
first of all, welcome. We're so glad you're part of our club now. I've got some great news. I'm going to England. It will be the first time in almost 2 years we'll have seen our daughter, son-in-law, and 3 grandchildren. And I know Doug Webb has probably gone through this, but we'll be the most COVID tested people that you could possibly meet by the time we go there, have day 2 testing, have testing to come back, we'll be totally tested out. One other plug I'd like to make, I represented Innisfil last week in Simcoe Reads. I presented a book by Francis Satani called The Company We Keep, set in small town Ontario. We could all relate to it. can all relate to it. Anyway, the voting has now started for the most favourite book for Simcoe Read. So I encourage people to look at the books available and vote on the one that you think should win, Simcoe Read. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne. For myself again, welcome, Katie. Men, we're gaining ground with John, so Rob, we're counting on you. We got to get our momentum back. But thank you, Anne, for the presentation. Other than that, I'm just happy to see everybody, and that's all I have. Yep.
Number is 579405.
Barry's the winner of the 50/50. Congratulations, Barry. We've got a couple minutes left if anyone has anything. If not, we'll give you a couple extra minutes to your day.
I'll just mention one quick thing. I mentioned in the past to some of the members, Rotary actually has a partnership with Toastmasters International. So the local Toastmasters Club are actually meeting this Thursday again. They meet the first and the last Thursday of every month, I believe it is. I'll actually be doing my icebreaker, which is the introductory speech. I'm a veteran Toastmasters, but this is my first time with this particular club. So I'll be giving my first speech with them, and it's kind of hard to condense my life story into a 46-minute speech. That's really hard. so I'll be doing, sorry?
Did they use the same Zoom link?
I believe they do, yes. It's on their Facebook site. So if you look up the Innisfil Toastmasters Club, they usually provide the Zoom link there. So, yeah.
So it's this Thursday you're going to be?
This Thursday, yes. And as Past President Ann discovered, they do offer you to contribute in some way. So whether it's through the table topics or something like that, they'll ask you if they want to be involved. So it's not mandatory, but you can be asked, called upon, and say, hey, do you want to talk for a couple minutes? So it's fun. It's a fun thing.
I tried turning my camera off, but it didn't work.
Yeah, your internet was spotty that night. I remember.
It was my internet was really bad, so I was trying to save bandwidth by camera off, but I wanted to see.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day.